I have a interesting question to ask you. You're also a blogger as well. And I wanted to ask pertaining to nail licensing. And I wanted you to give your perspective on nail licensing. Do you have to be a licensed nail tech to do nails?
It depends on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that's so important for some places, in more in the UK, I believe, it comes down to insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, they have to have some sort of licensing. Not everywhere in the UK. I'm hearing different reports about that. But in North America, in some parts, most parts in America, you have to have the licensing to be able to do someone's nails.
Right.
And in Canada, only in a couple of provinces, you have to have the licensing to do someone's nails. So in most of Canada, you have to have, well, I wouldn't work without insurance, but to cover my butt in that respect, I would buy insurance. But I don't have to have, in most parts of Canada, you don't have to have any licensing. The government says beware. But I don't know of any nail technician that's going to open up a salon based on no education whatsoever. So it really comes down to whether you had a license or not, comes down to where are you learning your nails from. So in Canada here, like I say, we've got some killer nail techs, all based on no licensing. There's some nail technicians that are around that people probably be very surprised to find out they never actually had official license. Same with in the UK. There's no official license for a lot of those people, and they're freaking talented, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a license. So it really isn't the license that's going to make you great. It is the what you take from it, who you're going to learn from, what you take from that. You can learn from the best in the world, but if you're not getting it,
Right.
it's not going to make you a great nail tech. So as far as that goes, to me, it does matter where you learn and how you are going to learn it and how good you are going to do it before you go and do people. I can't stress enough that what I'm seeing, the biggest problem for me is people getting these things or even my stuff, any stuff, and they're putting it on their own nail right away.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. That's no different than if you got a big party you're planning and I'm going to 100 people and it's going to be my daughter's wedding and I'm going to try all new recipes that I've never tried and I'm going to try it that day.
Right.
That's a plan for disaster. You need to practice those recipes, make sure they're turning out, taste test them, make sure everybody likes them before you serve them to a party of 250 people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you buying a product that you're liquid and powder, especially when you're doing that, don't put it on any human nail right away. And we don't advocate this enough in the industry. We need to practice that first. And that's where if you go to a school, schools will say that, but we don't do that enough on YouTube, and that maybe we need to convey that message more. So that's what I'm all about. When you get the product, practice it, practice first.
Right.
And then you can get ready to do it on when you feel like it's getting to the point and you do it on yourself first. But this, whether you have licensing or not, it all comes down to proper education. You must seek out the proper education and learn how to do this before you take it onto people.
Right.
So it does vary all over.
Yeah, yeah, I could definitely agree. You don't have to be licensed to do nails. Like there's people out there that are, self-taught.
Oh,
You know,
killer. And
especially,
there are people that are licensed that are terrible. And I
right.
only learned that. I learned that the hard way. So the beginning of my career of the YouTube, when I would answer questions, they would say to me, well, Suzie, how do you remove? And I would say, oh, sweetie, you can do it like this or go to a professional. And I had my nails broken in half and it's blah, 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 blah. Go to a professional, they'll help you. Or how do I fill my nails and how do I not get the greenies? And I said, well, how you do it is you make sure that you're not filling over top of any pockets, but you really need to see a professional because they're trained for this. And often the answer would come back, I went to a professional and they ripped my nail off with another tip. They shoved it under and they ripped it off. And I'm like, oh, so what am I going to say to that? They're
Right.
telling me that was a professional. I got the greenie from a professional.
Right.
What do I say to that? I broke the nail straight across the top and the stress point is so low. There was no arch. There was no apex. That's a
Mm-hmm.
professional. So here they have this license on the wall. This customer walked in thinking that's legit. They're
Mm-hmm.
professional. And this is where I learned why we have a huge discourse. So here I'm telling them, go see a professional, and the professional is causing the damage. And I'm not saying that an unprofessional can't cause the damage, because of course they can. But
Right.
the argument is the professionals are causing the damage. So Does that professional want to do that? No, they don't want to do that. They don't know. They don't want to beat your nail up. They don't want to get a bad reputation. They're not doing that. They're not mean. They
Mm.
just don't know. So then I started putting my videos to everybody, in the sense that whether you're professional or not, seriously, somewhere along the line, some professionals aren't getting the message that even non-professionals and nail enthusiasts are getting.
Mhm.
Some professionals are not getting it. So where does that come down to? That comes back down to the licensing and where they're getting their license. They're not, somehow we're not conveying, or they didn't care. Now, I do come from the belief that no company puts out a product that they want to be bad, and no nail technician is there prying off nails because they want to damage your nail. They're doing that because they just don't know. They don't have the knowledge. Now, they need to seek it. That's a responsibility.
Yeah.
So that's not cool. When they're not seeking it, that's bad. But the fact that they were doing it to begin with, they don't want to do that. They're not out there to hurt you. So we need to step that up. That's where I'm coming from, as far as, so it was very frustrating. That's how I learned we got a problem. We got a problem.
Mhm.
And how do we address that? We have to attack that more professionally.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that because, you know, it's one thing to be licensed, but that doesn't mean you know professionally how to do like certain procedures, especially with the nails.
Yes.
There are some professionals, you know, that are really good, you know, at what they do. You know, they understand the procedure, they understand the process of how to, you know, design a nail, how to care for the nail, you know, in the
Yeah.
best way possible. So I do agree with, you know, it depends on the education you get, and it's always good to keep learning, because that helps you build skill, that helps you build knowledge and things of that nature. And when I was in high school, I was doing cosmetology classes. So I got my license pretty much right after my senior year of high school.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so that's when, you know, I was able to work at a salon during college and things of that nature, you know, to get that exposure of how to, you know, how a spa setting or salon setting is like, but also how to do nails, like manicures and pedicures, you know, the proper
Right.
way. So I do definitely agree that it's definitely important to understand that process, whether you're licensed or not, you know.
Yep.
So that's very important. And I wanted to ask this other question. So, you know, you talked about also in your blog about being a mom and being a nail tech. So how was you able to juggle like being a parent but also striving to be a nail tech? Because I think that'd be a cool story for you to tell, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, I do need to write that article. We've talked about that one. Well, I had a salon for about 8 years in this one location, downtown Victoria, and then I did plan to have a child.
Mm.
So I got pregnant, and then, I mean, you don't really think that far ahead, especially when I was only 27, and so you don't really think that far ahead, right?
Mm.
But I did think, okay, now what am I going to do now? I'm like 6 months pregnant. Where am I going with this? um, but I also didn't want to. I'm not into the whole daycare scene. I really wanted to do this to be the 100% involved parent. So as I, got bigger and bigger and bigger, I literally still went to the salon 2 weeks after I had a baby by cesarean. Don't recommend that. This is stupid. If I have any advice, that's one thing I would change. Stupid, stupid. But I went back to work right away after I had a C-section, and I took him with me to the salon. And my mother-in-law happened to work there. She was renting a space doing seamstress
Mm.
work, and so she was there. And babies, they're the easiest thing. They poop and eat. That's all they and sleep. That's all they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're easy to take care of. But when he hit about 4 months, I realized that, okay, I can't realistically do this anymore. I'm sort of a person that I don't really plan ahead. I really wing things by the seat of my pants. That's how I work. I don't recommend that either. But so I realized that, so my sister would look after him for a little bit. And then a couple months in after that, I thought, this is not working for me. I need to be with the baby all the time. It's just not what momhood to me is all about. So I made the decision to close the salon.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't think ahead, I could have sold it, but nope, I got to do it now. I do everything like that. So I literally closed the salon, and I had a house that we purchased literally 15 miles out of town. And I thought, oh, I got 140 clients. I could do 12 to 14 clients in one day. You can't do that realistically with a baby. That's ridiculous. But what am I going to do? The most important thing is, am I going to invite all these clients back to my house? There are some clients that I don't think I want to leave them in the room alone with my baby. When I was downtown doing nails, you don't know about a lot of the clients and you don't know their background or their history. And sometimes some of the people they hang around with are maybe not people you could totally trust. But when you're in a salon setting, you're downtown, lots of people coming in and it's a bit different. You're a bit safer. But now I'm thinking that some of these people might come to my home. And so I had to pare down that clientele, thinking to myself, which I went through every single client. Who could I leave my baby if I'm doing their work? Excuse me for a second, I'm going to get the door. Who would I feel comfortable leaving the baby as I went and got the door? So I pared it down to 40 people. I put the notice up that I was going to leave or close the salon. Ooh, took a lot of flack for that. Some clients went irate. 40 people were invited back to my house. Of that 40, about 30 came. Some couldn't really come because it was 15 miles out of town. Some would come to me via cab or bus. So coming out that way was a rural area. It's not a really practical way. So I had about 30 that came to the house. So then I've always had really nice, I won't say high end as in spas, like, $1 million Botox doctors. I didn't go that route. I didn't have the money for that. But high end as far as nails, everything was very fancy. We had flavored coffees, fresh flowers on the table. I had a receptionist that looked like $1 million, and everything was really fancy, very, 80s. And so coming home now, and if I'm going to work at home, oh my goodness. It's just, I can't have the fresh flowers and the receptionist and the fresh coffee. This is going to be, but I really had to think, okay, I'm going to have to let that go because I've made a choice now to have this baby. And I really want to work at home and raise the baby and still have a clientele and still make some money, but I can't, I'm going to have to let it. So I just resided and closed the doors and I was gone in a heartbeat.
Right.
And so then here I am now in my house, 50 miles away from town, got rid of most of my clientele, and some of the clients are coming to the house. So of that 30 clients, 30 times 50, that's still what was that, 1,500? I don't know. I'm terrible at math. So there's money there. I can still make some money and still have my kid. And these are clients that are moms. So they understand my path of having a child and they get that. Then I started to get to know a few people in the neighborhood. And I even bumped into a woman that was an old client of mine, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I just live over there." She goes, "You still doing nails?" And I said, "Yeah." We're yelling across the field. She goes, "Book me 3:00 Friday. What's your address?" I yelled it to her. She was, and we started, and she lived in the neighborhood, and I did her nails for another 20 years. So I built the clientele. Then I had another child. And how did I manage that? I literally, I could have had, I'm the kind of person I could have had 10 kids. I just love the chaos. I love loudness. I love craziness. I just love that. I grew up with a lot of extended family and friends. I only had 2 other sisters, but we were always around all these other people all the time. And I just loved it. I had lots of cousins and we hung out all the time. So if I could have physically had it, I physically couldn't. I would have had at least 6 kids. So I just set up a room in the house, and I've been in this house. We're still in the same house. I worked in every room in this house. And there were times literally, all the good times are easy. The kids are playing, and some of the clients in the neighborhood would come and they bring their kids and they could play because it was set up like a real mom thing. Yeah, they got to step over shoes and coats, and my kitchen might be a mess, but honestly, they don't care. They want their nails done in a good fashion with a pleasant person to spend an hour with and get them in, get them out. They don't have to take their kid to daycare now. They can bring them here, or hubby can watch it. They can zip out at 7:00 at night. So I worked 7 days a week, and I was basically open 20 hours a day, but I only had really a part-time or a 3/4 worth of clientele. So I was very flexible. So when the kids and it moved with their ages. So if they were on a weekend, I know the kids were going to sleep in till, 10, and dad was home. I could take a couple of clients before any of them got up.
Right.
Or little kids would play, or by the time they hit the school, but when the kids hit the school, 5 years old when they're in kindergarten, my clientele exploded because I got to meet I was doing the teachers' nails, the principal's nails. It's a small community. Everybody got to know me. So to the point where my 10-year-old daughter would go to the store with me and she'd be like, I don't want to go with you, because we bump into people I know and I'd be standing there talking to them for 20 minutes. So she never wanted to go anywhere. So I knew everybody in the area, in the community, because it's a tighter community than the downtown core. It's sort of a little area outside the downtown core that's growing rapidly. But I knew everybody. So for me, those are the great times. The hardest times were when you're trying to juggle and the kids are coming home from school and they got to have dinner. There's homework to be done. My husband and I weren't big on homework, so we just abolished that right away. You're in school, you do your work there. This is home time. But there were many times when my daughter, particularly, she was a real mama's girl. I would literally have her over my shoulder because she wouldn't deal with anybody else. My husband, and between the husband and I, she always wanted. So I would literally be like this, baby over shoulder, doing nails like this. That was the worst times because she was crying and hubby, couldn't soothe her. She wanted to be with mama. So I would hold her as I'm finishing a set of nails. So I got to do nails really good while the client was holding a baby, or I was holding a baby, or she was wiping the snot off another kid. I could still manage to do nails even though they're all over the table. But I didn't mind that. Now, I could tell that to some nail technicians and they would go, are you crazy? I would never do that because that's not something they would be able to handle. I totally get that. But for me, I loved it. I didn't mind it at all. Yeah, it was hard on my back and, my shoulders, and I'm probably paying for it now. But, it got me the extra money that I needed. It helped me stay in the nail game. It fed the family, you might say. And that's only a small period of time. I mean, they're only babies for, they're only newborns for a couple months, and then they're babies, and then they're toddlers. So it goes by fast. I mean, I'd kill for it all to be back again, but it goes by very, very fast. So I was just very, and I booked clients literally back to back, but I might only book somebody at 9 and then somebody at 10 and somebody at 11, do 3 clients back to back. But then, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2:30 is the deadest time for a nail tech. And so that time, or I would just wait for a client to not show up or forget the appointment. That's when I would do the laundry or prepare the meal. I would do a lot of crock pot meals. So I prepare them before the kids got home from school. They were cooking all afternoon while I'm doing the clients all day. And then when the school's right across the street, but I literally I would stop a client. They would have to pick them up at, let's say, 2:45. And I would be doing a client and I wasn't quite finished. I'd look at the clock, hang on a sec. And I'd literally stop doing her, run across the street, get the kids, bring them home, get them settled, and then come back and finish the client. I would do that. And if they didn't like it, too bad. But I never had a complaint. I never had a client get pissed off. I never had them upset. They got it because they were flexible. They were moms. They didn't have to take the kid to daycare because now that I'm in the community, they loved it. And they would wait. And sometimes I'd be like, I'd make the appointment. Okay, now you're just going to dry, or they're curing under the light. Let yourself out. But it's a small community. We trusted everybody. It was an open door policy. That's where I live, right? So it worked. I just made it work, but I had to let go. And I remember apologizing many times. Sorry about the mess that you had to step over, but we kind of live here. And of course, then my boy became teenagers and I was the house where all the kids came to. So sometimes there'd be 6 backpacks at the front door. The client would have to climb over. But it was just the way it was. It was just the lifestyle. And now it's not to say that you can't have the fancy salon inside your home. But when you have kids and stuff, I'm just not one to enforce those kinds of rules. And I still have my own separate bathroom for my clients to wash. I still sanitized everything. My nail room was out of the household area. It wasn't like I was doing in the same room as the kids were playing video games and throwing sandwiches. That wasn't the case. But so that we did have our privacy. And my husband he worked a lot, but then when the time as they got older, he started working at home. So he was here too. So, but it also, when you're working at home, because you have kids, you got to be very selective on the clients that you're having come to your house. There was one time where I had this wonderful young girl book an appointment and she brought her boyfriend. Lovely couple. I had no problem with either. They were lovely. And he said, I had my kids sitting up doing whatever they were doing after school up in the living room. And I was down doing nails. And then he said, oh, babe, I can't stand the smell. I'm going to go meet you in the car. Well, he has to go through the hallway, up the stairs, out the front door. Well, my kids are up here. I'm down here. I don't know if he went up into my house, took a kid, smacked a kid, threw him off the balcony, or played with him, played video games, made him a peanut butter sandwich, drank my milk. I have no idea what he did. I'm assuming he went out the front door. So it's an awkward situation So you got to make sure that you're comfortable with who's coming to your home, because you do have your kids and your family there. Most people are just lovely. But,
Mhm.
you don't want to, you got to be careful you don't put yourself in a situation where it could be kind of, in an awkward situation. I could see him out. I
Mhm.
think I'd waited to hear the door close.
Mhm.
But they were also recommended to me from another client. So there was a connection. It wasn't just like a cold call. So they
Mhm.
were connected through another client. So be very careful about that when you have someone come to your home. But I got to tell you, working at home, I've been all routes, working for people, commission. I've owned my own salon. I've worked at home, and working at home while you're raising children is the smartest, best move I ever made. Yeah, I had to get rid of the fancy salon for a while, and you step over some nonsense. The house is a bit of a mess. You might apologize, but honestly, clients really don't care. And that was the best move I ever made, because I could make half the money because I didn't have the overhead of paying for the salon and all the overhead. I could cut my clientele right in half. I make the same amount of money working at home because I have to work twice as hard and twice as long to pay for the overhead. But when you're at home, you don't have any of that.
Mhm.
So, in my opinion, an at-home mom or dad doing nails, raising kids is the best way to go. I highly, highly recommend it. So then my kids grew up. I mean, they're only little for a very short period of time. Once they hit, 10 and stuff, they don't need you for that day-to-day care anymore. And you're still here. They have the friends you can hear. You can hear everything. And then as they get older, they have their little agendas and their friends and the things that they do. You're just monitoring, you're keeping track, you're on top of it. And as they get older, 18, 20, they often move out. Or if they're still around, they got their own thing going on. And that's when I open up my another salon. That's when I can get back to the fancy. And that's what I did. I had everything was really sweet and high end and white, everything was nice. So, things you can have when you don't have kids around, right? And I
Mhm.
did everything really fancy. So I was able to come back to that again. It was
Mhm.
great. Highly recommend. If you're ever considering working at home, don't hesitate to do it. And for those who do not want your kid hanging around or bothering you if you're doing clients, the beauty of that is hire somebody come to your house to look
Mhm.
after them under your roof. So that kid has the freedom to run in and say, Mom, can I wear this? Or can I go here? And you still in control, but she's doing the things for you that, or she, he, whoever you're hiring, can help you do the things that you need to do that you physically can't do because you got your head down into your clients, right?
Mhm.
Hands. So that to me is, I would do that in a heartbeat, because if I'm making $50 an hour, I can hire a person to come and take care, just, after school care or whenever that might be. You can afford it if you want to do that.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful way to go. I love it. Didn't regret a minute.
Mhm. That was a really, really interesting story. It was very.
Sorry, I kind of go long and off.
I wanted to ask this other question, and it's like motivational related. How would you define success? What is your whole perspective on being successful, especially in the beauty industry?
Did you say, how do you define it?
Yeah, how to define being successful? Yes.
Well, the last way I would define it is via money, in the sense that if that's your only goal. Um, how I would define it is when you are happy with, I mean, even if I do a nail and it's just something that I'm trying to create, success for me would be, I had an idea of a nail that I wanted to do. And I remember going at that for about 5 or 6 tries. And
Mm-hmm.
it looked like crap. So whatever I was dreaming of, or whatever I was in my head that I was trying to get, I couldn't accomplish. And it took me about 5 or 6, and finally, about the 7th try, I finally got it.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was like, oh, yeah, I got it. I finally succeeded. So it's a labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
And it, to me, that's where, or even just these things, the poppets, they're on the table because we just finished doing a video with this particular stuff. But um, just being able to accomplish what you're trying to go for, is
Mm-hmm.
that to me is a success. So I'm not very money motivated.
Mm-hmm.
If I did, I would probably have more of it. But to me, the success is your own personal pride and accomplishment, whether one person is watching or whether a million people are watching. It's just success within yourself of how you're able to accomplish what you set out to do. And the harder it is to get there, once you get there, I think the most rewarding the success.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think success is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely agree. And also, being successful is enjoying what you do and never working a day in your life.
Oh,
You know,
totally. That is so true. My husband and I, we've always like he's been doing what he's been doing music since he was 17, and I was doing the retail, just typical girl route, trying to make some money. And then
Mhm.
when I fell into nail, I literally fell into it. And then when I started to grab onto it and open up a salon, I found for me, I love doing the nails, but I really liked opening the salon and decorating it and the whole animal of it. I loved everything. But it does get down to the basics of the nails. That's what I love. But being able to do it in the atmosphere that I created in, for me, is what I really, really enjoy. So for us, bringing our two careers into where we have now is just a different level of where we've come. I wouldn't have what I have on YouTube if it wasn't for the 30 years of work that we did before that.
Right.
Honestly, I wouldn't be able to have, I couldn't say I've got 33 years of experience if I didn't have 33 years of experience. And I wouldn't have that credibility if I didn't spend the time doing it. But I'm so lucky that I found something that's so artistic, that's right up my alley. Because every day, I don't remember there's ever was a day that I was like, "Ugh, I got
Mhm.
to make nails." Now, I might have said it about a person, like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm not really a big fan of that client. But my job is to do a good set of nails, whether I like her or not.
Mhm.
But I loved creating the nails. I loved doing that. And I found some years would go by that I wasn't big on the filing that year, but I might be really, really into the sculpting. And then
Right.
one year, and I was doing the drill, e-filing we called it drill back then, and the e-filing. And then I went, you know what? I'm going to just do nothing but hand filing. So then I was all about the hand filing and I perfected the hand file. So,
Right.
and the client didn't know. They don't care what I'm doing behind the nail table. I'm just, oh my God. Oh, then what'd you do? And I'm just like in my world, right? She's just attached to it and she's talking.
Right.
So yes, it is true. It's corny, but it is true. It is really important to really find a passion and love what you do. And I'm very lucky that many people appreciate it and are liking what they're watching, the experience that I'm able to pass on. Just lucky that way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And also, it takes like passion, dedication for what you do too. When you
Yes,
do what you do,
yes.
you don't think
Yes, and I will. You're so right about that because there was many times where I said, "Oh, husband, I have enough videos," and he said, "I think you should just." So I was ready to pack it in, but he said, "No, just keep it going." So that was a great partnership there. Motivation, I want to touch on that. You mentioned the word motivation, but I just want to touch on that. Sometimes we don't have motivation. Sometimes motivation is not something you wake up with. It's not something you can obviously buy. It's not something that you can just obtain or you wait for it to come.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's something you just do, and you sit
Right.
down at the nail table and it may not come to you, but sometimes you just sit down and you're just like, and then you start doing it and you're like, ugh, I'm over it, I'm gonna go eat something. Or you start doing it, it's like, oh, I have to go somewhere, but you know what, I'm gonna be a little late. And the motivation comes from doing it. So even though you're not in the mood, just get in there and start doing it, because
Right.
motivation, you'll find you'll stumble upon it. So it's
Mhm.
not something you wait for. Don't wait for it because it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and also sees opportunities as well. And my father always taught me like preparation meets opportunity, and always be prepared that with opportunities that come your way. So that's very
Yeah.
important too.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. Because
want
I
to,
didn't plan nothing. We just went
yeah,
with the flow. We just went with it. I didn't plan any of this. If I
mm,
had planned it, it wouldn't have worked out like this.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
yeah.
I'm gonna ask like this one last question.
Oh, yeah.
With being in the industry for 30 years and teaching nails, how do you want to be remembered? Like, how do you want to make an impact on the world?
Oh, my goodness. Um, I think probably the best thing would be to, um, I find I find one of the saddest things that I get is clients being, and probably if I had more time to think about it, I wouldn't focus on this so much, but sometimes clients are judged on even having nails. Like some males will go into some salons and they want to get nails on. And even clients with really ugly little hands maybe shouldn't be wearing nails. But it's not about that. It's not really about nails. It's about how a person feels when they have them applied. So no matter who they are, where they come from, what sex they are, doesn't none of that matters. It's just how they feel when they have them.
Mhm.
So I think if anything, I think what might be for me is that people look back on it and go, this has been a fun experience, whether I do them for a class or my clientele or just myself. I just want to have fun doing it without any judgment or any observation from anybody else of why I did it that way. And I shouldn't have to justify any of that. I just want to have fun and enjoy the process and use it as a self-expression. So if anybody's watching the videos in 20 years from now, which I highly doubt, the reflection would be that we just had fun and no judgment in anything that we want to do. Because once you start putting a box on that, we eliminate all the extra color that we have put into nails and the extra ideas of everybody collaborating and getting together on it. So I would love to just see the judgment of all that just go away and just everybody just enjoy the fun, non-judgmental process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And like with your videos, it's so engaging. You make it
That's good.
so fun and you make it enjoyable. And I like your product reviews and you do like the acrylic nails and different types of nail art. I think that's really cool. And you're an inspiration to a lot of people and you stay positive and you're very bubbly. And I love your setting, like how your setting is very, professional.
How can you beat fairy lights? With product reviews, that's tough for me sometimes because I'm an optimist at heart.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get a product and I'm working at it, I can pretty much work anything. And sometimes I'll overlook what might be wrong with it or how I'm using it, and I'll just make it work because I see the positive side of it. But that's not really what a product review is about. But I'm also very sensitive to bringing out a negative about a product when I misunderstood that. And I don't want to bring out the negative because that's not what they meant it to do. And I read it wrong. So I'm very careful about how I represent a product. Mm-hmm. And before I say anything about it, just recently, I was using something and I didn't like the packaging it came in. It was very flimsy. I mentioned it, but we actually removed it because I didn't have a rebuttal of how it could be fixed or how better to use it. So we didn't want to give the impression that I just was being mad at the product because the product was excellent. It was just the container I wasn't happy with. So should I say that there to millions of people, or maybe hundreds of thousands of people, or maybe 10,000 people? Should I say that there? Or should I maybe with my voice that I have developed, why don't I go to the company and say, listen, I really love your product, but that packaging is so flimsy. I almost lost it all over the floor. Give them a chance to say, you know what, we did have a few complaints. Thanks for not saying it to tons of people and hurting me over it when it could be a simple fix that I could actually help them and change it. Because if I say something negative, people get the wrong idea. They might not buy it, but it's an exceptional product. But now nobody buys it. Now they don't have the chance to fix it because nobody's buying it. But there's nothing wrong with the product. So I'm very careful and sensitive because I know what goes into the products. I've used some amazing products over the years. And when you use them incorrectly, whether it's packaging or whether you misunderstood it or whether they just didn't explain it well, you hurt them. And that's not my goal to do that. It's because the product might be excellent, but we need to know how to use it properly. So sorry, I went off on that, but I just wanted to make that clear because it can be so misunderstood, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool to see like your videos and, I like how you show like different products, like how I said before. So, I'm very, inspired by you and the work that you do. And, when you have guests on the show, it makes me smile. You get to interact with different people and connect with different
I love it.
And it's just really amazing. And I really want to thank you for coming on to the show and allowing me to interview. It's such a great honor to meet you and to get to know your expertise, your life and things of that nature. So thank you so much.
That's very sweet. Thanks, Asia. And you can call me and email me anytime.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy Women's Month. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sweetie. Thanks for connecting with me. I really appreciate it. I love to spend time with you. Anytime. Email me anytime, sweetheart.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms as well as visiting my website ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more videos to come soon. Take care, stay safe, and stay healthy.